Hey, husband,
Yes, wife.
what do you call an old snowman?
What do you call an old snowman, wife?
Water.
Wow. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Random's Thoughts. I'm husband,
And I'm wife.
and we're back to talk to you about Lightseekers because, wife, we got some additional spoilers.
We did. We got lots of good news from these spoilers, and lots of fun cards to talk about.
Well,
It's been an
definitely fun
interesting
card. What
couple
makes you
weeks.
say it's good news? Would it be bad news if they were spoilers?
Well, I'm just talking about how a particular love of mine got a promotion, but we'll talk about that later.
Well, that is true. I don't know. I mean, you didn't really play that hero.
No, I just liked him,
Okay.
as a character.
I
And
was
now
going
I
to
like
say
him,
it is
continuing liking him as a character.
that particular character, and we'll get into it momentarily. Is has actually been played a fair amount locally. Maybe
Yeah.
not recently, but definitely this time, around this time last year, as we were prepping for various events and then ultimately nationals. Jolty, just to not beat around the bush at all,
Yeah.
did, as everybody probably surmised by this point, by the time this goes live, Jolty did get a promotion, and like I said, he was a relatively popular hero. I'm not sure. I do appreciate, like, in story that they are continuing with the same characters. Like, that's kind of cool to me.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, A, why Jolty, and B, well, we'll get into whether I'd actually run this Jolty over the other one, but we'll
We'll
talk about
talk
that
about
in a
that.
moment.
It was soon.
So overall, I'm anxious to see what the spoiler methodology is going to be. So they did the initial, I guess, Creeble batch because virtually every card that we talked about last time had to do with Creebles.
Mm-hmm.
This time around, it's a little bit different. We'll see if we can surmise the theme. By the time this goes live, maybe the remainder of that cycle will have been revealed, and therefore this whole speculation is kind of like a sealed envelope time capsule thing.
True.
We'll have to see. I don't know. Again, just like we talked about last time, I'm very curious to see how the families in particular play out because I like those themes in games, and I'm hoping they get a little more support.
Yeah.
So, wife, you had said offline that you wanted to start with the heroes, correct?
I do want to start with the heroes because they're fun, and like I said, Jolty got a promotion.
Well, that's good because we're going to start with Jolty. So I was
All
going to
right.
do like last time and try and do it in card order number, but for the actions, I'll be honest, I couldn't make out what the numbers were. They're really tiny, and even zooming in, it got real fuzzy. So whatever,
Well,
we're
I
going
can
to
do that,
announce
but we'll
it.
do that later. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just go in the order we're going in. We don't have that many cards to discuss. So, in this case, Commodore Jolty, again, the promotion. Now, here's the one note, artwork wise. So they appear to be sky pirates as opposed to, I guess, traditional pirates.
I mean, why can't they be both? Maybe they come from the skies and land into the seas.
Sure. Whatever. I guess. Anyway, so it's a 29 health storm hero, no superior elements, which is a carryover from the other one.
Yeah.
The D-ranked version, I guess. Whatever. I don't want to say demoted because it just went up. But anyway.
Yeah.
While you have more buffs in play than your target, reduce your combo costs by 1. So basically, this is Fish Singer Ushi.
Yeah, this is an interesting version of Ushi that I like. I'm okay with I mean, I loved Ushi with the reducing combo cost by 1.
Absolutely.
Um,
I think the cost here, though, having more buffs in play, I mean, yes, there are clearly good storm buffs. I don't know if there's a whole lot of non-rotating buffs that I'm real excited to play in Storm.
yeah.
Definitely not in the same vein as our previous Ushi builds. So previously, and wife, you can talk about it, that they were just hyper-aggressive builds. And it was, okay, well, now it's even cheaper to just power out high damaging combos. This requires an investment. I get it's the fixed Ushi.
It's Ushi that's not. I mean, I played Ushi at Nationals. Ushi did really well for me at Nationals, mainly because people were expecting a different Ushi, and then I played aggro Ushi.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that, especially with the way the meta seems to be changing with the cards that have come out, I think this is definitely a fixed version of Ushi because...
Well, I mean, it's a fixed version no matter what. It's Ushi with a drawback.
Yeah. Like, if Ushi had stayed, it was ridiculous. This is at least a way to kind of balance it.
I don't know how much I'm...
possible.
I mean, maybe. Reducing combo costs is not insignificant. Again, it's going to depend on what buffs are relevant, because there will, of course, be combos that if you can reduce their cost by 1, you're going to feel great about playing them.
Yeah.
But this feels like it wants to go in a different direction, whereas the previous builds that we had for Ushi that were hyper-aggressive, that was just, okay, well, this is one less card I have to draw. Because of the investment you have to make here, I think that immediately pushes it more to a mid-range or control build, unless there's aggressive storm buffs that make an appearance, because you're going to need to do that setup. I'm not usually a fan of heroes that have no superior elements at all.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest issue with this card, is the no superior elements. I'm actually okay with the idea of it, like, you know, trying to build a buff-based deck. I'm okay with that, even if, like, obviously we need to see what buffs come out, but I'm okay with that. It's the fact that it doesn't have a superior element is the hardest thing for me.
Well, of note is it doesn't require a storm buff. It can be any buff, as long as you have more buffs. So hypothetically, and this is, again, not to beat a dead horse, but similar to our previous Ushi builds, those were very heavy in unaligned cards.
Yeah, those were very heavy in the gray, but...
Now, granted, Umbral Informant's getting nerfed. Kreeble Raid Party isn't even going to be a thing. Frenzied Kreeble won't be a thing. I'm sure we're going to get some sort of replacements, hopefully, or maybe this hero kind of rides the pine until you do get those cards.
Yeah. And that is possible. I'm hoping that we get some more unaligned cards spoiled pretty soon.
Right.
One, because I like playing unaligned cards. I think it's fun.
Yeah.
But hopefully that it can follow in that pattern, like you said. But I'm cautiously optimistic for Commodore Jolty. I have a couple of ideas already starting to form in my head about ways to make him work.
One thing I have to go back. I don't know what species or whatever Jolty is, like the fish people. I guess fish people in Lightseekers.
Aren't they Maris, or was that?
Well, Mari Bard, I don't know.Maybe. But anyway, I know you have the Korra toy. Because we had gone through a lot of effort to actually get the Korra card. And
I
it
love
comes
my
with the
Korra toy. I'm looking at it right now.
Does Korra have, like, really long... I don't want to call it tendrils, but it's supposed to be his ears.
Yeah, on Korra, it looks more like hair, but I could see how a couple of them are probably ears, and I had always assumed they were hair. Like,
well, on Jolty, he has an earring, so quite clearly it's supposed to be an ear. I don't know too many hair piercings, but then again,
it could be a thing,
I guess.
I used to put, like, shells and stuff in my hair in the summer.
Of course you did.
It was fun.
Of course you did.
Yep.
Anyway, so beyond that, I don't know if there's too much else to say. It's really going to be contingent, and again, not to beat a dead horse, but it's going to be contingent on some of the other things we see. Because it doesn't specify the storm buff, that gives me a little more hope. But I'm trying to think of a buff-based storm deck that I play. I mean, there's Nemi the Venomous, but that's not really the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. yes, there are good storm buffs. There aren't any that are immediately leaping to mind that I'm like, oh yeah, that's definitely what I run. But maybe there'll be some unaligned things, or if you splash via an item for some other order, maybe there's something there. We'll have to see. If anybody out there's listening to this, definitely hit us up with your ideas, especially if you're screaming at your monitor, your radio, your phone, whatever that you're listening or watching us through.
Yeah, so, let us know.
Any other thoughts, wife, before we move on?
Nope, just that I am excited to play him, but we all knew that I was going to be excited to play the Storm Heroes. Like that shouldn't be a surprise.
So the next one up is Herodias.
I love his name, by the way.
Yeah, although it feels like it's a nature hero name, because when I hear corrode, I'm thinking like venom or rust or something like that, or even a storm hero. It just feels weird. Corrode.
Whereas
with
I think corrosion, and then I think of like rocks corroding into, yeah.
I mean,
pretty much.
I guess if it was Herodias, it would. I don't know. Anyway, so that is Herodias on all accounts.
Yes.
Anyway,
but
Herodias is a mountain hero, superior in Earth, which immediately catches my attention because personally, I've always felt that Earth is the strongest element within the mountain order. No other superior elements. 30 health, and his ability is discard the top card of your deck, heal for 2. So initial thoughts, wife? Do you like this guy? Do you not like this guy? What are you thinking?
He's fine.
I actually, over time, I've grown to like this guy, so tell me why you think he's only okay.
I don't know. I feel like if I'm discarding a card, I want it to heal for more than 2.
I would agree. An action simply for 2 healing is not great.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the part that I'm thinking is fine. The fact that he's superior Earth, yes, I agree that that's the strongest way to go about it, but he's fine.
Yeah, I'm not sure if at the end of the day, I'm going to choose him over a different superior Earth hero, but I do think this is unique. So, the reason why I bring this up, there are a lot of ways to recur things, as you've seen with a lot of different combo decks, a lot of different builds that happen to just infinitely recurse different cards out of their discard pile, back into their deck, back into their hand, whatever the case may be. This self-mill mechanic, I'm excited to see if any of the action cards or combos all of a sudden matter. As in, is there going to be a sub-theme of putting this into your discard pile so that it does something else?
Yeah.
It's difficult to set up to, say, get not Moonlight Burrower, Starhorn Tusker, or Haunting Dreadling or something specifically on top so that you can mill it, get the effect, and then start triggering those cards that do things while they're on the top of your discard. But maybe there's a sub-theme for that from the set.
That would be a cool theme if that was a thing.
Right. It's going to be interesting to see if that comes up. There's also, and this is calling to another game, but for any of you that played Magic way back when, and this isn't even way back when for me. It's funny because it was, but if you played in the original Mirrodin block, there was a card called Arcslogger that was just a body. So it was a creature. I guess you could call it or compare it to a buff for this. Basically, it's a guy you play out there that gets in there and attacks your opponent. But his ability was you spend a resource, deal 2 damage to something, and then remove so not even mill into your discard pile. It was removed from the game, so you could not get them back in any way. The top 10 cards of your deck. And a lot of people assume that was bad. But the difference is, and this is why I'm bringing it up, there's no difference, for the most part, and I'll explain that in a second. There's no difference between you milling that card and that card being literally the last card in your deck. Because you'll never see them either way.
Yes. However, I feel in this game it's a lot easier to run out of cards.
Well, that's what I was going to get to. This game doesn't quite follow the usual analog for other games.
Yeah, so, if it was Magic, yeah, it's a 60 card deck. This is not, and I think that's the biggest issue for me.
Yeah, it's entirely possible that
yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like my cards matter a lot more in this game than they do, I would say, in most other games that we play.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see if this was an attempt at that sort of thing where it's okay. Are they trying to combat mill fallacy, or is mill fallacy, I guess, a thing in this game or not?
Maybe.
I'm curious because the other thing that wife and I had discussed offline is if you look at the combo recarving, anybody who's played it can tell you it feels real bad when you have to play like an early Crystal Leech or something. And early being, it could be like turn 5 or 6. It's just, you spent the other turns drawing, haven't played anything, nothing's expired out, but your opponent played a buff, and it's like, I have to deal with that.
Yeah.
This hypothetically,
especially when you're only dealing with one thing.
This could hypothetically fill your discard pile, the bottom 4 cards, in order to power up that recarving. Obviously, the problem is if you hit that Crystal Leech anyway, now you've really stuck a burn card in there, and for very minimal gain. That being said, At the same time, if you're only running 3 Crystal Leeches, then the odds are in your favor that you're not going to mill said burn card.
Mm-hmm.
So you could build your deck around the idea that you're trying to prep this thing, but maybe it's not worth it. Like you said, 2 healing for an action is not great. So we'll have to see.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts on Herodias' wife?
Nope. I think he's okay. I'm totally willing to be proven wrong, but right now I'm just thinking he's okay.
Well, we shall see. I mean, like I said, I'm not sure I want to necessarily run him over other Earth Superior heroes, but you never know. So to close out our heroes, we have Elora, who there was an interesting factoid that apparently both her shield and her scepter were going to be toys, and they just never became toys originally.
Those would be fun toys.
So similar to, Crystal Core or Leeching Scimitar, all those other things, and she would have been a character that came out, but because I guess the RPG went the way of the dodo, they just never saw the light of day.
Especially if her scepter actually glowed, that would be a fun toy.
I'm sure it would. So, Elora the card, Astral Hero, 29 health, Superior Lunar. And her ability is, it's an ability. Rotate one of your action buffs 1 step forward. If that buff is next to another buff of the same element, you may rotate that buff 1 step forward as well, if the first buff is still in play. So basically, you can't rotate out buff 1 and then rotate buff 2.
Yeah.
So we've seen a lot of these heroes over the last few sets where its ability rotate some number of buffs or rotate them multiple corners or rotate them in some weird fashion like this where there's all kinds of conditions attached. I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of a lot of them, and I tried really, really hard to make Chef Ribrox work way back when.
Yeah, you did.
Like, I really wanted to play that deck.
Yeah, you did.
So this cascading chain of buff rotation might be a thing. I'm not super thrilled to do it.
I feel like the stars need to align a little bit too much for these, especially this one.
Well, that's kind of fitting given its astral wife.
I get it. You're so funny. But no, I think everything needs to work out a little too perfectly. I mean, maybe
it just feels like
people can do it. I
don't know. It's one thing
it never
I found.
Works out for me.
One of these things that I found, or one of the things that I found when I'm trying to play all these buff rotating heroes, is that very rarely do I want to invest the action. So, for example, the ones that work. And there was is it Quitu? I don't remember the hero's name. It's the storm one that interacts with animal buffs. One of the people we know from our local scene, shout out to Scott and Jess. Scott was playing this online, and this is going back a while. But basically, that hero's powers when you play 2 animal buffs in the same turn, or 2 animal cards. I forget what it is, but basically you play 2 of them, you get to rotate 1. So the idea is that you play, say, Draga Scorcher, you play Flame Burrower, the hero power trigger goes off, you rotate Draga Scorcher, tag them for 6, bounce the Draga Scorcher back to your hand. Now, you've only done 8, which is not an insignificant amount, but you've spent 2 actions to do it. So would you play a card that says deal 4 damage, no extra stuff?
I mean,
probably not, right?
No, yeah, not.
So
not if I had my say.
So the reason I say that is, at least in this interaction, it bounced the Scorcher back. So like you're air quotes drawing a card. And the whole reason that I'm bringing up this entire dissertation is that a lot of the time you're investing these actions to rotate these cards to do things that they would have done anyway, and now you're diluting your action. So instead of spending an action to rotate those 2 buffs, you could have just drawn a card to have something to play next turn and let that thing go off naturally. Now, that being said, of course, there are going to be these weird wombo turns where it's like Sunplane Charger followed by something else, and then you rotate the Charger. It automatically resets because of the card that's on top of your discard, but it also rotates the one next to it, and blah, blah, blah. Maybe there's something there with the self-restarting buffs, but it just feels like what you were saying, wife, that you're going to have to put in a lot of effort. You need to set up this really weird scenario to just do like 10 damage, which is a lot, but like, how much effort are you putting into it? And did your opponent do nothing?
How fragile is it?
Yeah.
Like how fragile is it compared to what your opponent could be doing?
And so, for you StarCraft fans out there, if you ever watched Day 9, way back when he did a video, he used to do daily videos explaining strategy. And one of them was explaining, somebody had written in like with a listener question, or he's reviewing a game or something. It's like, well, what if my opponent does this weird Colossus, Immortal, Templar, Zealot, Carrier, Tempest, blah, blah, and he listed off like 30 unit push. Like, how do I deal with that? And his answer was, why didn't you just go kill him? Like, what were you doing the whole time? Just go kill him. And that's kind of where a lot of these things feel like they're going, is that, yes, you could set up this really convoluted scenario, but what were you and your opponent doing in the interim? And why did it get to that stage? Now, that being said, we've seen a lot of really involved combos, including lately, that clearly have the redundancy. So maybe there's something there, but my initial reaction is that's a lot of effort.
Yeah, I think and maybe you can get a big reward, but I think it's a lot of effort for a little reward, and I think your opponent's going to try to screw with you.
Now, I think it's
relatively certain that's going to happen.
It is notable that it rotates 2 things, but that implies that now you've spent 3 actions. So action 1 to play buff 1, action 2 to play buff 2, and then action 3 to actually get them rotated, which if they're not drawing you cards, or probably healing you, or both, or they... I don't know.
That's wasting a lot of, it's wasting a lot of actions if it's not helping you a lot.
Now, I get why this power is on this hero, is because her scepter actually rotates buffs. I don't know if the shield is a card yet. I don't think so.
I don't recall seeing it, but it could just be one that I ignored.
It's possible. I mean, it wasn't spoiled. Let's put it that way. I mean, it is part of spoiler season. I don't know if maybe it was part of the Rift packs or the new starters or whatever. It initially, like I said, seems like it's going to be a lot of work. Somebody will do something cool somewhere, and then that one time that it works, everybody's going to talk about it. But right now, it feels like... So a lot of the really involved combos just immediately win, or immediately set up a game state that locks your opponent out of the game, or puts you in such a humongous advantageous position that you can't lose, or pretty close to it. This is, you're going to spend a lot of effort, and you're going to do like 10 damage and maybe reset a buff.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I mean, that's fine, but again,
I mean, we can always see... Yeah, we can always see, though, what comes out, and maybe there's something that is yet unknown that makes this card insane.
Yeah, I mean, there's always potential.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time, like we said earlier, working on Chef Ribrock, so I definitely like these effects. I think it's interesting. And there are some notable late corner buffs, like Astronomer, for Astral. The question is again, do you really want to invest that kind of effort? We'll have to see. And the fact that Superior Lunar also throws a wrench in things.
True.
It feels like they want you to do Skyward Observatory. Well, that wouldn't really make any sense. If Skyward Observatory had one more corner, maybe. Mm-hmm. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
So that actually concludes all the heroes, wife. So do you want to move on to the action cards?
All right. Well, I think we should, and I can actually see the numbers if you want me to help you there.
Well, we're going to start with Barrenwood Butcher because that's the next one that I set up on the overlay.
That is good because that's number 25.
Okay, sweet.
The other one is 65.
Okay, so Barrenwood Butcher is a dread buff, specifically death. It's an it's an Umbron. I was about to correct myself and say it's a Creeble, but it's not.
No, he's not a pig. He's a big creep. What are Umbrons? They're like bison golem sort of deals?
I don't know. I feel like they're supposed to be demons, air quotes. I'm not really sure, but they seem to be bad guys. I think that's a safe assumption.
I mean, what is bad? It's all relative.
Is it though?
No, they're probably bad guys.
Is it though?
They are working for the undead faction, so.
Well, they are the undead faction.
True.
But to some anyway, digressions aside. So it's a death buff Umbron, as we just established, Barrenwood Butcher. Guy sounds mean. So as this enters play, discard one card. Then the effect is rotation healing and draw 2 cards. So there's only one corner where you actually get that. It's a third corner. You'll heal 4 and draw 2.
Yeah.
Have at it, wife, because I have thoughts.
I mean, if you can get there, I think that's fine.
Is it though?
If you can get there. I mean, healing 4 isn't bad. Drawing 2 cards isn't bad.
Is it
but
though?
I don't know if you're gonna get there because third corner buff is
okay. So yeah, third corner, fourth corner buffs have to really be strong. If this thing, so let's compare it to Covetous Shade, which doesn't, I don't think, really sees play outside of the undead deck, and even there, I don't even know if I'm playing it anymore. Mm-hmm. So that's XX22. It deals 2 damage, then it draws 2 cards on the last corner. So you have to wait a turn for the card draw, which really is, to me, the most important part of this. If there's, again, like we were talking about with Herodias, if there's a way to turn the discard part into a benefit, okay, maybe there's something in there. But if you're waiting to draw 2 cards, this is another one where it says, okay, well, I'm going to set up this weird scenario, and what's most likely going to happen is my opponent's just going to go, oh, well, I'll pop it.
Yeah.
It's good that it's on the third corner, don't get me wrong. That's clearly better than putting the card draw on the fourth corner. But or even if you heal, like 4 it's not an insignificant amount of healing, but it's not good enough. I want heal 6s. I want heal 7s. I want more than that.
Yeah.
Healing 4 is just okay. And you're only going to get that effect once, although I am kind of eyeballing this for my Asavok deck. Mm-hmm. The dual astral death hero or dread hero, the spider lady, because you could reset this. So you play Gravity Meddler, walk this back a turn, and then heal again and draw 2 more cards. Maybe there's something there. But I'm expecting that you're going to be getting 3 for 1 with this a lot. So you're going to play this, you're going to discard a card, you're going to say go. Your opponent's going to go, okay, draw 2. Then you're going to do your turn, and they're going to go, okay, Crystal Leech this and your other buff, 3 for 1 you.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think I think the fact that you have to discard for it makes it less okay.
There are, like we talked about when we were talking about Herodias, there are a bunch of ways to recur things, but there's not a lot of benefit to intentionally pitching things yet.
I mean, maybe there could be.
Well, and that's the thing. If there is, great. It's I keep wanting to say Creeble. It's an Umbron, so maybe there's something with Sacrificial Pit because it's an on-faction Umbron card.
Mm-hmm.
so that way, so Sacrificial Pit is an undead-oriented card, but it cares about when you play Umbrons.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's something there because it is in faction, and so you don't have to go out and go get, say, Umbron Barkeep or something that's neutral, in which case it wouldn't be any good for combos.
Yeah, so, and that is possible. That's a positive.
I feel like I'm reaching here. I'm like, just really stretching to try and make this into something, but I'm not seeing it right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think the fact that it's in a family and it's also a faction card helps, but I don't know how much.
Yeah, I'm not super excited to run this guy, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
So, actually, our last spoiler, because we're recording this a little bit earlier, we didn't quite go the exact 7 days, so by the time this goes up, there'll be a couple more that we'll have to talk about, came over the weekend, and this one I'm a little more excited about.
I like the artwork on this one, just throwing that out there. I do. I don't know.
Why?
I'm not saying reminds me what I always imagined, like, some of the Ents from Lord of the Rings to look like, personally. Like, maybe that's why.
Just a person? Basically,
kind of
like that looks more like a tree person than the Ents.
Yeah, I think that's probably why.
Based on the artwork, it looks like he's wearing overalls.
I know. I think that's amusing to me.
Anyway,
yeah.
So the question is the mane like bark? Because the beard is green, so it's quite clearly supposed to be leaves.
Yeah, and it kind of goes around the back of his head. So,
but is that like dead leaves or is that bark?
I think it's bark. I think it's a bunch of like limbs.
So he's rocking like a Cruella de Vil style, like poofy, fluffy, like.
I mean, they kind of look like super awesome dreads, maybe.
I guess.
I don't know. I initially thought it was like a pack on his back, but I think you're right.
I feel like it's part of him. I can't quite tell. Anyway, it'll be easier once we get the cards in hand. You can look at it real close.
Yeah.
Anyway, so to the actual card, Bramble Spike Caretaker. It's a nature. Is nature the order? I always mix this up. it feels dumb, but like, is nature the order, or what's the tree element?
It's now you're killing me because I thought it was nature and.
I'm looking this up right now while we're live. This is a highly professional podcast, folks.
I know.
So nature is the order and forest is the element. It's something like mentally I just always mix some of these up. So like
I always call
tech and mechanical
tree brain in my head. So
like tech and mechanical, I always struggle with remembering that tech is the order, but mechanical is the element, and I always mix them up. But anyway,
see, that one I get. This one, it looks like a tree brain to me. So in my head, I've called it tree brain for a very long time.
That sounds like a hero name.
A little bit, yeah.
Hey, Play Fusion, if you're listening, get me a tree brain in the next set. That would be awesome. Anyway.
Well, Mrs. Bova and I already have a petition for the next one, but we'll talk about that another day.
Okay. Shout out to the Bovas. So anyway, the card text, it's a defend card. As we said, it's a forest defend card. Bramble Spike Caretaker. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You may move an action buff from among them into play or heal for 3. Put the remaining cards back in the same order. Has no families, no extra stuff.
I like this card.
I do like this card. I actually do.
I really like the fact that you really can't screw yourself over by using it.
So
like nothing feels worse than like, okay, look at the top 4 cards. None of them are action buffs, or they all just are nothing I want to play right now.
At worst, you're healing 3.
Yeah, like, that's kind of nice that you just can't completely screw yourself over.
So I'm curious if this will be updated to say valid action buff.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, I believe the way it's worded is, say you're just a regular nature hero, you can just slam a fire buff. Now, it wouldn't do anything because it would come out dormant because you don't have access to the element. But if you wanted to set something up, or for example, well, I guess it wouldn't really matter there, but I was going to say Bloom and Scorch you can go get a fire buff, pop his ability to go do something else, but you already have access to fire, so it wouldn't. That's not a real good example.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, I do like the idea. I think it's pretty cool. There are a few different heroes that it's also notably a immediate heal for nature.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas typically, Stumpdrift Shaman, it's a buff. Yes, it heals for 1 right away, but really the heal you care about is on a later corner. This is immediately heal for 3. Whether 3 isn't, as we just discussed, great, but it is something out of the ordinary for this particular order.
And at least, I'm still saying at least it does something.
Yeah. I actually do like it a lot because it gives you the utility to go find something. Now, it's only the top 4 cards, but you can set things up, and it also lets you dance around order restrictions. So, it's just moving the buff into play, so that means you can bypass whatever if it's a soul buff, just to make something up, you can move into play and then play a soul card.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you don't have superior soul.
Yeah.
Which is, again, notable. I think this card's pretty decent. I'm interested in seeing how it shapes up and what you can do with it. I don't know if there's a whole lot of things. So I'm looking at, on my other monitor, some of the mythic heroes, because to be perfectly honest, that's where my brain always goes whenever we get these spoilers. Okay, well, where could this fit out of faction?
Yeah.
And does it do anything that that combination doesn't have access to currently? The ones that actually have forest as an element are Thundervine, Overseer Tuskrage, and Bloom and Scorch. Now, Bloom and Scorch, maybe, like we were talking about, you could do something weird where it's... So here's the thing. You're not... I guess you're technically spending the buff out of hand because you're expending this card, but it's pulling from another set of resources right out of your deck. So that may provide some advantage there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm, again, trying to hypothesize on the fly.
Yeah.
I'm not real excited to play it in Overseer Tuskrage because it's kind of a big who cares.
Yeah.
Which is kind of how I feel about every Tuskrage build, but that's just me.
I keep wanting him to work, and
I think it just bothers me that he has this weird chainsaw gun thing. I don't know what it is.
Really, says the guy who plays the Save Carmine game.
I can't believe you're gonna mess this up.
I am gonna mess this up.
I can't believe you're gonna mess this up.
I can't believe I'm gonna mess this up either.
All right, we'll give you 3 guesses. Everyone at home screaming at at whatever they're listening to this on. Help wife out. Scream louder. Maybe she'll figure it out.
I know the gun is called a Lancer.
Yes, you are correct.
The bad guys are called Locusts.
Yes, you are correct again.
I know that Coltrane don't go woo woo.
Coltrane go woo!
But I can't remember the name of the game.
I'll give you a hint, wife. There's war in the title.
Gears of War.
Yeah, there you go. Everybody, she gets a cookie. No, you don't, because that's embarrassing.
That was one of the saddest moments of my life.
That's embarrassing.
I could tell you everything else about it.
We're gonna get a divorce. This is grounds for divorce, wife.
It looks like the Lancer.
We're gonna go to the Catholic Church. We're gonna get an annulment because this is sad. This is really sad.
You know what? I'm sleep deprived. Anyway,
back to Lightseekers. Sorry for the digression, folks. I don't like it because the Lancer's cool. I don't know what this thing is. It looks like it's a buzzsaw, but it's trying to be a chainsaw. I don't know.
It's chopping through the forest. It's
what? Stop.
I don't know.
No, it's not. I do like he looks really
leaves.
Cool. Does it though? I don't even know what those are. They look like all green radishes.
No, they're definitely leaves moving at a quick clip.
Anyway, so back to the card that we're actually supposed to be talking about. Yeah. The other mythic hero is Thundervine. Now, again, I'm not super excited to run it there, although there's the potential that so Storm Shaman's going away. Because I was going to say you could fish out a buff to set it up. So one of the things that I was experimenting with Thundervine before Uprising is Vortex Planes. So it's a Storm Shaman essentially only for elementals, but it's a 1, 2, 3. So it buffs your elemental damage and healing by the corners 1, 2, and 3. So maybe you could go get that for right now. I don't know. I like this thing because it lets you search. It lets you go find specific things for whatever you need in that scenario. Like you said, it's good that you won't ever whiff, but I'm assuming when you're building a deck, including this card, the vast majority of your stuff is going to be buffs.
Yeah. Probably.
So you shouldn't ever whiff. But, I mean, I played a lot of Sun Hunter, and I've whiffed. It happens.
Yeah.
And the times you do, oh man, it feels awful.
It feels so bad.
At least this does, like you said, give you something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I definitely like this guy more than the previous card. I think I like him more than at least one of the heroes.
I think he'll work. I honestly think he'll work.
Yeah. I have to believe that there's something in here because any of those pseudo tutor effects, whether they're full-fledged tutors or they're pseudo tutors like this, where it's, look at X number of cards, do something, that it's playable. Now, the only thing that catches, well, not the only thing, but one of the things that catches my mind is the fact that they had to add a fail-safe scenario. Tells me that maybe they tested this and it was hot garbage.
That's true.
So they said, this card, is awful. Or, the times that you fail, it's just so bad that they had to have something else.
Yeah, I mean, that is possible. I also like the idea of knowing what's coming next, kind of.
It is important.
That
information is relevant.
I like, is it worth me drawing right now, or do I want to do something else? And having that information is definitely useful. Now, I won't lie to you, I usually forget almost instantly what I just saw, but there is a chance that I'll remember one day.
That is something that I mean, we've talked about it in real life with a number of people, that I wish that we could take notes.
Yeah.
It's something that, yes, I get the memorization is a skill, and I'm doing air quotes since wife can't see the camera. I don't find it an interesting or compelling skill or mechanic in games to just go, hey, do you remember this thing?
Yeah.
That happened. I mean, yes, it only would have happened seconds ago or minutes ago, but I don't know. It's just not an interesting gameplay mechanic to me to play a game of memory.
Yeah, I like notes, but I'm a dork, so I like notes in every aspect of my life.
At the end of the day, it is what it is. It's not a big deal. But it is interesting, this specific card. I'm looking forward to trying this guy out. I'm not entirely sure off the top of my head where he's going to fit in yet, but Mr. Bramble Spike Caretaker, I think, has some potential.
I definitely agree there.
So that actually concludes all the spoilers at the time of this recording. So we're definitely going to continue doing these. Hit us up with feedback. Let us know what you think we should change, what we should do differently, whether you think we were crazy, whether you think that there's a sleeper here or in any of the other ones. We definitely appreciate any of the feedback. So any other things you wanted to close out with, wife?
Nope. I'm excited to see what other spoilers we get coming down the pike. I think we'll probably see a couple more over the next couple days, but like husband said, we had to record a little bit earlier this week. But I'm excited. I really like Bramble Spike, and I'm excited for Jolty. Hopefully he got a pay raise with his promotion.
Well, he's a pirate, so I guess that it's really all self-funded, sort of.
Kind of.
Or he appears to be a pirate.
I mean, pirate, privateer, all the same. And
it depends on your perspective, I guess.
A little bit.
Anyway, so I guess that'll do it for us this time. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Definitely hit us up if you have any feedback or anything, or if you just want to follow us or whatever the case may be. So I'm husband.
I'm wife.
And please tune in next time for more Random's Thoughts.